Hi, I'm Kristie Jones with Sales Acceleration Group. And today I want to talk to you about stalled deals in your pipeline and how to prevent them from happening by holding your prospects accountable. Let's review today's agenda. So, I'm going to start by telling you why it would be important for you to hold your prospects accountable, although I think you probably already have some suspicions. Two, we're going to talk about why you might not be holding your prospects accountable. Then we're going to talk about it's your game, play it your way strategy. And then we're going to cover 5 tactics to make sure that you stay in control of your sales cycle. Then we're going to talk about establishing consequences for bad behaviors and making sure that you have a walkaway point. Let's get started. So, why is it important for you to hold your prospects accountable? Well, initially, it's going to make your life a lot easier to not have to chase people down once they're halfway through the sales cycle and they tell you that the team needs to think about it, and then they ghost you. So it makes sure that you're always in control of your sales cycle so that you can move it at the pace in which you need to move it, meaning it's going to reduce the length of your sales cycle. Going to really help you separate what I call the wheat from the shaft. So the posers from the players, if you will. Who's really serious about purchasing from you and who's just wasting your time? And then in general, psychologically, people want structure and they want to understand what's expected of them. So we're going to talk about how to make sure this happens. Well, let's talk about the big elephant in the room. Why aren't you holding your prospects accountable? Well, one, you might not have ever been taught how. A lot of sales leaders don't teach you how to keep control of your sales cycle. So definitely going to help you out here today. Two, it might be a little uncomfortable for you. If you're not totally comfortable talking about price, you might also not be comfortable holding your prospects accountable. But I'm going to try to give you some tips and tricks to make it easier for you. And then thirdly, here's the big reason why you're not holding prospects accountable. Your pipeline is anemic and you're afraid that any deal that you hold accountable might actually become a lost deal. The reality is they were probably never going to buy from you from the start. So your funnel in that case is really a fantasy. So really, there's no fear of losing the deal because it was probably never yours to begin with. All right, let's jump in. This is what I call it's your game, play it your way. The prospect needs to be playing by your rules because it's your sandbox. They can bring their own toys, but at the end of the day, these are still your rules and your sandbox. So how do we do these? Well, we want to establish rules or expectations for working through the sales cycle with you early. If you've been through Sandler training, Sandler calls this the upfront contract. I like the concept. So early on, you just need to say to them, hey, Joe, I'm not sure where you're really at in the buyer's journey, but I want to make sure that you understand that at any time you don't think that this is a fit, we should definitely discuss that and potentially part ways as friends. No hard feelings. So you want to let them know it's okay to tell you no. And you want to do that often and early in the process, of course, because the more time that you waste, the less that you're prospecting. So throughout the sales cycle, you might have to give them a gentle reminder. We'll talk more about the beat them over the head with the brick strategy later. But over the course of the sales cycle, you might want to say to them, hey, listen, it sounds like maybe there's hesitation or doesn't sound like maybe the entire group is on board. So you need to be able to keep the door open for them to walk through and tell you no and part as friends. Let's talk about some strategies, tactics for staying in control of your sales cycle. I keep emphasizing that we don't want to advocate the sales cycle to the prospect at any point. For those of you in the SaaS world, here's when this normally happens. Call one, step one, discovery. Whether that's a qualification call from your SDR or whether you're doing the full discovery as an AE, you're in complete control. Stage 2 normally involves what I call show and tell. You're normally doing a demo of your software product. Complete control. Then what happens? They tell you they need to think about it. And you go, okay, if I don't hear from you by next week, I'll give you a call. You've just abdicated your sales cycle to your prospect. Not good. So let's talk about some tactics for making sure that we don't do that. And after the "we need to talk about it" comment, we can still stay in control of our sales cycle. So we talked about that upfront contract. So if we go through that, we might as well just say to them, in all honesty, "Hey, you know what normally happens to me? After I've shown your team the demo of our product, normally you're going to want to talk about it internally. This is where sometimes I don't hear from my prospects for 2 or 3 weeks. So what I'd really like to do is, while we're still on that demo call with your team, I'd like to make sure that we put a call firm on the calendar for, let's say, a week out, assuming that your team is going to be able to get together and talk about it in that period of time. Does that sound okay with you?" They're going to say yes. They haven't really started down the path with you. The scary sales stuff hasn't started to happen. So again, set these expectations often, so then you can come back and say to them during the demo, "Hey, Joe and I have originally had agreed that we're going to go ahead and put a time on the calendar for, let's say, a week out. That should give you guys enough time to discuss internally. And then Joe and I can get together and he can share our feedback." See how easy that was? And if they go, "Well, no, we're not really sure we're going to do that," then you can call Joe out on his bad behavior, which we're going to be getting to shortly. So we want to create a culture of accountability. How do we do that? You have to walk your talk first and foremost. That means you've got to show up on time for appointments. You've got to send reminders. You've got to set firm calendar invites. You need to send information when you told them that you were going to. So in order for them to know that this is a culture of accountability, it starts with you. You have to walk your talk first. You can't hold someone accountable if you are unwilling to be accountable to what you said you were going to do. I like to use this strategy: homework and deadlines. So at the end of every call, you need to find an excuse to test their accountability, right? So let's say that there was a question during discovery that they couldn't answer. Maybe it was about security, IT, legal processes. Who knows? Could be anything. But anything that they can't answer for you throughout the process becomes homework. "Hey, Joe, I know that we weren't completely sure about the IT or security requirements that are going to be necessary. I think it's important that we figure that out now so that we don't get too far down the path and run into a roadblock. Do you think it's possible that you could check with your IT team and have that information to me by Friday?" Joe says yes. Then what do you have to do to make sure that you're creating a culture of accountability? You say, "Great. If I haven't heard from you by 2 o'clock on Friday, I'll shoot you a quick email or I'll give you a quick call." Then you've got to put that task in your CRM system to make sure that you remember to hold Joe accountable to what he agreed to at 2 o'clock on Friday. Are you getting the drift? Cool. So we need to also establish consequences for bad behavior. So let's say that Joe doesn't do what he says he's going to do by 2 o'clock on Friday. We honestly need to very professionally call him out. So when you send that email, you need to say that, "Hey, I know we agreed that you would have this information by 2 o'clock on Friday. I haven't heard from you. Is something changed or is there a concern from your IT department?" And you need to send that email or you need to leave that voicemail. And then if this is a repeated pattern of behavior, guess what? I think you've just seen a poser and not a player, right? Someone who pretends to be a buyer, but who really isn't in the buying mode. Okay, lastly, you have got to establish a walkaway point. And I'll be honest with you, I want this to be written. This should be no different than any other sales process that you have in place, like your prospecting process, your negotiations process, how deals get signed at your organization. You need to have a walkaway process. Here's mine. If I haven't heard from a prospect or they miss their accountability deadline, I give them the benefit of the doubt initially, right? Sending a gentle reminder that they promised to do X by Y. If I then haven't heard from them 2 days later, probably going to escalate. Probably I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to leave them a firm but gentle voicemail. Then I'm going to let 2 or 3 more days go by. Then I'm going to send another little firmer email. "Hey, I just want to make sure that everything's okay. I know we had talked about hitting this deadline. I'm concerned that I haven't heard from you since X." Then I'm going to give them 2 or 3 more days and I'm going to send the Dear Jane email. And it goes like this. Subject line: Change of heart, question mark. Then this one sentence. Joe, have you changed your mind about solving the revenue challenges that your team is currently having? Question mark. Love, Kristie. Everyone needs a walkaway strategy and a Dear Jane or a Dear John email. And it needs to be short and sweet. Okay. If we talk about these establishing bad behavior consequences up front, then everybody knows the rules of the game. So I need to say to Joe, hey, Joe, if in fact I haven't heard from you after we've agreed to get together again, how would you like me to handle that? I call this letting them set their own punishment. I love it, right? Then they're going to tell you how they want you to handle that. So when you handle it the way that they've asked you to, they know that it's because they have let you down and have not held themselves accountable. Here's another one. So again, succinct messages, delivery, re-engagement. We talked about that just a minute ago. So what's your walkaway point though, right? You're starting the strategy now for bad behavior. Email, voicemail, LinkedIn message, email, voicemail. I don't care what it is, but I want you to react the same way every time. Here's why. I don't want this to feel personal. If you have a walkaway written process or strategy, then you're just going to follow the process. You're just going to say to yourself, this is my walkaway process. I'm going to put my process in place. So the more anemic your pipeline, the less likely you're going to want to be to hold someone accountable. That's why we need processes that we can rely on and repeat. Involve others. I love to talk about multi-threading, right? If 4 people came to that demo, that show and tell day of yours, you need to reach out to them, CC them in, follow up emails after that. Make sure you're connected with them on LinkedIn. They might need to know people in your organization, solutions engineers, your CFO or finance or procurement department. So make sure you've got enough people in your circle at the prospect's company, and they should have multiple people at your company as well, so that if your main contact starts to ghost you, you're not dead in the water. You have other people that you can reach out to and rely on. Okay, enough about walkaway points. Let's talk about when to use it. These should be fairly easy. We've covered some of these already. Prospect is ghosting you. Can't get a hold of them. Not returning your calls, not hitting the reply button, not replying to your LinkedIn messages. Which, by the way, I have found a very effective strategy to be leaving a voice message on LinkedIn as opposed to just a written message. Video is great too, but the voice message lets your concern come through in your tone. Prospect didn't follow up on their homework. They missed their homework deadline. Might be time to start our walkaway process. Prospect continually gives you excuses as to why the deal isn't moving forward. I haven't been able to talk to my boss. Procurement's on vacation. My IT guy is really swamped right now. These are just excuses, right? Buyers will find a way around them. They'll make sure that the people that they need in the process are available. And then sometimes you get a PETA prospect. PETA, pain in the ass. If you come across a PETA prospect, they're absolutely going to be a PETA customer. And your customer success team or your account management team is not going to be happy with you. So again, if you have a PETA prospect and really, honestly, it's just causing you stress and keeping you up at night, walk away. It's time for that. All right. We whipped through this pretty quickly. I want to make sure that you can reach out to me with any questions that you have, but let's do some wrap up to make sure you've got all the highlights. You need to hold your prospects accountable. Otherwise, your deals will stall out. The other way to say this is do not abdicate your sales cycle to the prospect. You need to be setting up expectations early on in the conversation. What are you expecting of them? Tell them how your sales cycle works. Tell them that you're going to do discovery, then you're going to do demo, then you expect that they're going to have a conversation internally. Then you're expecting a yes or no from them. And by the way, as one of my favorite sales reps, James, used to say, my second favorite word is no. Make sure they know that, give them permission. It's okay to tell you no. Nobody, again, maybe is a complete waste of your time. It truly is. We don't want maybe. We'd rather have a no than a maybe. Of course, like to have a yes, but we need to make sure that our second favorite word is no. We need to have some consequences for bad behavior. This really starts your walkaway point. So, what needs to happen in your head for you to want to start the walkaway process that you have written down? Making sure also that you're holding yourself accountable. Can't hold anybody else accountable if you are not walking your talk. I want to make sure that you never abdicate the sales cycle after the demo call to the prospect. I hope today you've gotten some very good tips and tricks. I want you to reach out to me. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, shoot me an email, and let me know which of our stalled deals are not going to happen strategy did you really pick up on, and what are you going to put into play? Again, I'm Kristie Jones with Sales Acceleration Group, helping you get better.